Recently, Texas had its first ever statewide winter storm warning. Ever. And in my neck of the woods, that hopefully happens like twice a year, so I just thought it was kind of funny when everyone started losing their minds in Texas. Where's the global warming? The flakes are flowing, the powers are going, the windmills are frozen, the whole state is snowed in. I don't think we can yet say that the cold temperatures covering America are a direct consequence of climate change, but here's a possible mechanism for what's going on. It would be really quite generous to call this a rough approximation of the science, but given the reality is three-dimensional and chaotic and ultimately unknowable, you'll give me points for trying. Just to really stress how inaccurate this model is, we will be using a cone for the northern hemisphere. More specifically, this line right here will be around 30 degrees north, and this will be the North Pole, but for the sake of this video, this will be the equator. And now, we're spinning. There's a lot of spinning that's important in meteorology, but for the purposes of this video, we're talking about the spinning of the Earth. The Earth spins at about 1,000 miles per hour around the equator and significantly less as you move towards the poles. This, combined with the uneven heating of the Earth from the tilt of the axis of the Earth, causes some funky patterns in the air. These warm winds and these cool winds mix together to form a kind of middle ground that you might know. It's called the jet stream. It's where the jets play. But this jet stream is more helpful than just taking you from here to there faster. It also serves as a kind of buffer between the warm and the cool space. Now, as the Earth warms up, which it does, and as the poles warm faster than the rest of the Earth, which they do, this decreases the difference between the temperatures in the northern hemisphere and towards the equator. This decreased difference weakens this buffer, and it starts to wander and perturb itself. It starts to meander. It creates some weird oxbows, and these oxbows can spin off and form into their own little vortices. And what happened in Texas was one of these little vortices spun off and caused some cold perturbances over Texas. And that's why they lost power for 3 days. But the thing that you should take out of this is that it's not only the cold temperatures moving south, but the warm temperatures are replacing the cold temperatures in the Arctic. So not only are you chilling in the Texas, but you've got some penguins that aren't chilling in the Arctica. Just kidding, there's no penguins in the north. Blame the windmills, I guess. Fox News and Texas Governor Greg Abbott will, after all. You get what you vote for, I guess. If you continue to dig your heels in next to your head in the sand and you say, global warming doesn't exist, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, maybe your constituency will be voting differently next time around. But probably not. I mean, the same thing happened like 10 years ago and no one did anything this year about it. I'm just ragging on Texas, though. It's not like California fared much better in this whole cold snap. As far as I see it, this is just another problem of prediction versus prevention. I was going to put this in my Grinds My Gears video, but I thought it was a little bit too wordy. The way that I see it, Texas didn't spend that extra little bit of money on the freeze-proofing of their windmills and their natural gas pipelines. This seems to be the bane of almost all energy projects, though. Whether you're skimping on the expensive pressure sensors of a nuclear power plant or you don't take the necessary steps to avoid an oil spill, it just seems like this is something that happens. I could label it a national flaw, but I really think it's more down to human error. You'd think maybe we'd learn from the last devastating plague 100 years ago, or maybe the last economic recession 10 years ago, but it seems that we just don't. Take our data infrastructure, for example. Our satellites and our grid system would not withstand a solar flare that happened like 10 years ago if it was aimed properly. We have very little protections in place against that sort of thing. You'd think we should be lobbying for this or something. To find some extra links you can check in the description. One of them is the Earth Null School, which you can just play around with the weather and you can look at it from different times from the year. You can even look at it from the 13th to the 17th in February of 2021. When I was making this video, I was debating heavily whether I should put it on my current channel or this other channel that I'm trying to start up called Climate Classroom. I decided that this idea was my own and it belonged on this channel, but if you'd be interested in hearing other stuff about that, I will update you on that channel too. So